Hello and welcome to OppiTV. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
A Beauty of the Heart documents the life of Charlotte Manye Maxeke. What inspired you to specifically write about her?
Well, it was all by chance because at the University of the Free State there's a inaugural annual lecture about Charlotte Maxeke, and then I didn't know much about her a few years ago, and I asked Professor Jansen about her, and then we chatted, and then he said, "Don't you want to write, about her life?" And then, I didn't hesitate, and I normally hesitate because lots of people come to me and ask, "Won't you write my story? Won't you write my story?" And then I always say that, I can't just write anybody's story because I'm giving, time, sort of a chunk of time in my life to that person. I have to live, eat, and sleep that person. And so I'm very careful about, choosing the subject. But I immediately said yes and started working on the research.
I know personally I didn't know about Charlotte Maxeke until I came to university, and even so I feel like there is not enough literature on her. Do you think there is like an erasure or rather an ignorance of powerful narratives, historical powerful narratives about black women?
There's completely an erasure of many of our stories. It's not just women, but particularly in her case, it's hard to imagine. Now that I know all her dimensions, it's hard to imagine how a story like this could have been blocked out of history, and it's a tragedy. But it's as if she comes back to us at this time when education is in crisis, and she was an educationist, essentially. And I hope that she will inspire us enough to keep our heads and forge ahead and pick up her baton.
Why do you think it's important to tell narratives such as this one?
It's important that we know our own stories and that we draw strength from our own role models in history. We have enough of those. We've got magnificent people who have gone before us, and we can be proud and draw from that. And it's from those people that we draw our strength. We stand on their shoulders, and we mustn't forget that.
And the book brings to light new information about Charlotte Maxeke. Please just journey us through the process of research and just gathering information, weaving it together. How was that?
It was very, very difficult. This is my third book, and this is the most difficult because I didn't naturally know the story, and I had to piece it together. And she was born in 1871. Even that was contested. Was it 1871, or was it 1873, or was it 1874? There were 3 dates. So I had to do the research to try and make an educated, decision eventually about what the date was. And so many of the facts were in dispute, and that made it so difficult. Also, there were huge chunks of information that was sort of missing. And so, some people say just write that you don't have that information, you don't know what happened in those years. But I felt that would be odd. So I really, really tried very, very hard to find, enough information that would make a narrative.
And I'm a journalism student, so I know through observation and my personal experience that it's very difficult to stay true to our narratives, especially as a black woman. What advice do you have for aspirant writers and authors who want to go the same path as you?
I think it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of careful observation of other writing. I've taught myself, essentially. I didn't go to a course on, how to do biography or how to write, books. I basically surrounded myself with others who were doing the same thing, asked for their advice, asked questions, and observed what they were doing. And so my advice to students is that anybody can do it, but you must be prepared to put in the work. And it's a tough process, but it's not an impossible task. And if you take pride in your work, then you want to check the facts and check the facts and check the facts, not just throw it in there. And that was very, very fascinating for me, trying to find corroborating evidence that this was in fact true, And so it was like putting pieces of the puzzle together. And I hope that my view is that all of you who've got the capacity to write must be writing. You mustn't be doing something else because we don't have enough writers and we don't have enough people who are telling our stories, you know. And so those who've got a flair for it and who like it, they must be doing that, because we need tons and tons of, you know, storytelling, because we come from that kind of background. We come from being storytellers, and we somehow have negated, you know, that, or we diminish it. We say, oh, our stories are not so important. But each of our stories, each one, as you stand here, you have a great story to tell.
Once again, thank you so much for making time for OppiTV.
It's a pleasure.